Hello, and welcome to another episode here with Jason, the Accidental Designer. And what I am working on today, I have a project that I'm working on that is 2 parts every month. And as you can see, I belong to a group called the V Tribe. And one of the things I'm working on every month are 2 different versions of a logbook that covers things like people's food and their exercise logging and gratitude journaling. So it's all kind of in one thing, but I have 2 different styles that I have going on. I have one that is this pink, purple, and light blue combination. Then I have another one, and you don't see it as well on this one, but you can see it better down here in the logo, where you have the dark blue, the light blue, the green, the orange, and the red. I call this the bold version of this. Again, it's the same content inside, it's just the actual coloring that's different. So I do have to make sure that I have 2 very different versions of this. So one of the things I have here is we have like the weekly check-in. And so for that was easy, I just went ahead and changed it. But and I've previously done that in a different month because it was already done. So I'll show you what that one looked like when I did that, because this is just the weekly checklist. I think that was the food log, so I'll look at that. Yeah, well, it's not the same one, but you can kind of see. Again, I made it the green, I had that reddish color, and I had the light blue for the background. And again, it's just a little bit bolder coloring wise than when you look at, let's say, this one, which is definitely more pastels, brighter on the pink and the blue. And so there is just a fundamental difference in how these look. And so I do want to make sure that I do that. Now there is one that I do have to update because I changed something. So I'm going to come here into my main file and I'm going to find this one right here, which is my new body tracker, which looks like this. And again, as you can see, this is the current version. So what I need to do is I need to update this to the bold. So I've already created just a bold just to show you what those look like, but I actually have that already saved out as a color preset. So I'm going to come over here to my swatches, and it's not one that automatically loads. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to load my swatch. Where is open my swatch library, user defined, and I believe it is the daily checklist. Let's see if it's not. Yep, it is the daily checklist. As you can see right down here at the bottom, there are my bold colors. And so what I need to do is I need to figure out what I've been doing with this one is, if you come back and look at the other food log, oops, this one, I've always used this purple as like for text, and then I have the pink and the blue for minor things. So in this one, again, which is this darker blue here, would be the purple, and then I would probably use the green and the orange as the other 2, because I think those are the ones that give me the best contrast when I look at it, or maybe even the green and the red, and just use these middle 3. So let's go ahead and update these colors so I can show you what that looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this whole group. I need to ungroup it just because I already had it saved out as a group and I don't want it as a group at the moment. So I'm going to click on the first figure and I'm going to make her that reddish color, but I don't want it to be filled. So I'm going to go back and undo that. I want to click over here on the fill, and I now want to click on that red, and that's going to make her that reddish color. And I can do the same thing over here. I'm going to click on the male figure. I'm going to make the male figure that green. Again, it's the outline, so he'll show up as that green. I do have this font text right here, and I'm going to change that font in a minute, but I know that that's going to be that darker blue. Oops, I want it as the outline, and I definitely don't want it to have no, I want it to have that fill. I don't want it to have an outline, so I'm going to get rid of the outline. That way it gives us just the actual text. And I have these lines here, and I'm going to have to click on all of the lines, which takes just a second because those are all purple, and I want to make sure that I get all of these. And then I'm going to click over here at the little dash coming through the arms and make sure I get all of those updated to that nice darker blue color. And there we go. So I have now updated those colors. I still got some colors down here at the bottom. You could try to do that, but the easiest way to do it is to, again, ungroup so I can select the different individual things and just click in them, and just make sure you're only clicking on the words, because if not, you do what I just did, which is I ended up selecting the boxes, which is not what I'm trying to do here. You also have to be careful, because sometimes whenever you're doing this, you will accidentally click on something you don't want to click on, and it just ends up taking more time because of that. So I'm just being really careful and clicking on all those so I get those updated. And now I can just click on that blue and make sure it's not the line, make sure it's the fill color. Now I can do the blue. And there we go. I have now, in just a few quick clicks, been able to update that. I do know that I use a different font. I have this one in the purple and pink version. I do use a different font than that for the more bold version. And if I come over here and I look back in my June folder when I did this the first time, I can see what font that I ended up using. I use this thing, it's called Helios Regular. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that Helios Regular and use that font there instead. So I'm going to come up here to the fonts and I'm going to drop down and find Helios Regular, and there it is. It also has Helios Rounded. I just happen to like the Helios this version, and then you can just drag it. I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of resizing because it is a pretty bulky font. I like it, but it's definitely not a smaller font. So then I can then move it just a little bit. And again, there's easier ways to do this. I could like highlight things and group them and then center it that way, but I like to, for the most part, I think if you just do a decent eyeball check, you're pretty good shape. I just want to make sure that it's evenly aligned right there with the head, and then I can make sure that it's pretty evenly aligned down here with the toes. And there we go. I now have a revised version of this that I can use. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a quick save as. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to put that into that July folder, and I've already created the bold folder here. And so now I can just save that in here. This is just making sure that I'm going to have all the individual parts. Because when I come over here into Adobe InDesign, I'm going to go ahead and open up the other version first. And you can see that I already have it laid out in here for this version. So what I'm going to have to do now is basically kind of go through, use the different version. You can actually see that I have the color swatches right over here on the right hand side. And so what I'm going to have to do is kind of, once this is officially set, I'm not officially set just yet. But I will be shortly because I haven't added all the components I want to. And then at that point, I'll be able to swap this right out here. And how I end up doing that, I'll show you that just so you can see. I just go to File, I go to Place. We'll pretend that this is this version. Oops. And all I do is click on the body tracker. And the first thing I'm going to notice is there is a problem with that because this one is filled with white, and I think I got rid of that fill by accident, so I need to fix that. I'm going to come over here, click on that, make sure that fill is white. That way that pops to the front. And then I can do a save on that. Come back over here. What you can do is you can actually just relink it. That's one way of doing that because you'll see, oh look, it's now going, wait a second. And if you just click on that, you saw how I just double clicked over there, it automatically did the update for me. And so that's how I will eventually be getting this in here. It's a little bit longer than it's supposed to be, so I can actually just resize. Oops, that's not how I want it. Okay, I'm going to undo and undo so I can show you this. And double click, because you always want to make sure when you're resizing in InDesign that you are using the red. So, because I just want to make sure I drag it and put it within the framework that I had when I originally created the file, which I did create it for that 1 inch by 1 inch margin so that it'll print well for who I'm using for the print company. And there you go. That's all that I have to do to take something that I updated in one and I'm putting it in a different print format, just so that I had the different coloration, because I learned that a lot of people ended up liking the more bold coloring. So that one is one I definitely plan on using again and again for this specific project because it's monthly. And that is how you literally update something that you've created to a new color scheme and then be able to import that pretty easily into Adobe InDesign. And so this whole process is going to probably take me maybe an hour to actually do all the updates, if that. Okay, thank you for watching.